The movie begins with showing a city, Hatra, from northern Iraq, where excavation process was being carried out to unearth different things. Later we saw a man, an antiquarian named Father Marine, who was also involved in digging with the others. During excavation, he came across a figurine that belonged to demon Pazuzu. Pazuzu was a very mighty demon who brings hotness and dryness in summer. Pazuzu had a strong foe named Lamashtu, who was none but a devil himself. Despite Pazuzu being evil, people seek his aid for their safety, as Pazuzu protects them from the other devil Lamashtu. Later we are shown Father Marine reached a point where he found Pazuzu's statue. There were two dogs fighting, which implied two adversaries were combating, Pazuzu and Lamashtu. Later the scenario shifted to Georgetown, where we see Chris MacLeod, who was playing a character of an actress in a film based on Student by director Burke. Chris had a 12-year-old young daughter named Regan. Chris was a popular actor who had money, fame, and every luxury of life. Next scene displays the mother and the daughter playing together. Chris discovered an Ouija board among her daughter's playthings and inquired about the board. She replied that she often played with the board. Chris told that the game couldn't be played alone. Regan responded that not alone, but Captain Howdy played with her this game. Chris suggested her to play together and was curious to learn the game. When she tried to play, the board moved away by itself. She took that as fun and told Regan, "I think you don't wanna play this game with me." Regan responded that not her, but Captain Howdy wanted her not to play the game. Chris considered the event lightly and took her reply as a joke. Afterwards, she put her daughter to sleep. The phone rang in her bedroom and she woke up and found Regan sleeping next to her. She asked Regan why she was sleeping there. She replied as her bed was shaking, she had to go to her room to sleep. Chris thought that she had a nightmare and moved out of the room. She heard some weird sounds from the attic that she kept hearing for a long period, but having entered there, she found nothing suspicious. Next day, Chris took Regan to the doctor. While being treated, Regan misbehaved with the doctor. Doctor told Chris that her child had a nervous disorder, that's why she turned kinda hyper and produced anger much. Also added it would be the cause of her depression. Chris told that her daughter had no tension or any problem. The doctor mentioned that neither Regan's father lived with her nor contacted her. That could be the reason she became so grouchy. After that, Father Karras was shown, whose mother was admitted to an insanitarium by his brethren, and his mother was really discontent about this. His mother was an elderly lady with fractured feet who didn't allow any doctor to treat her. That's why she had been admitted to that asylum. Father Karras wanted to transfer her mother to a better hospital, but he was incapable to afford the expenditure. Later his mother met her demise, and Father Karras was grieved for the event. Later we see Chris organized a party at her house. During the party, Regan showed up in front of the invitees. While telling something to a guest, she urinated before all, leaving them shocked. Chris, after giving her a bath, put her to sleep on her bed. As Chris was coming back, she heard Regan shouting. Chris entered the door and, having witnessed the bed shaking intensely, was befuddled. She took Regan to the doctor over again, and they ran several tests on her, and Regan had to confront those treatments. But all the test results were normal. Doctor said she was completely fine, but Regan's condition was being aggravated. Someone pulled her from the bed, shaked in the air, and threw back to the bed. And Regan screamed and asked her mother to save her, otherwise she will die. But Chris didn't have any solution for that. Later she fell prey to diabolic possession. Even the things were uncontrollable for the doctors. They gave her soporific injection to tranquilize her. When she returned from the doctor's chamber, she learned that her director Burke fell out of the window and died. Then Regan was under Burke's custody while Chris was absent, so that she doesn't remain alone. Moments later, Chris espied Regan climbing down the stairs, being inverted, and her mouth was emitting blood. Chris was heavily appalled by the phenomena. Doctors and psychiatrists were unable to figure out the matter, as her all tests were normal. They recommended Chris to take Regan to an exorcist. Meantime, William came to visit Chris, who was investigating Burke's case. He mentioned that Burke's punishment was strange and abnormal, as Burke's head was turned to the backside. That indicated it was perpetrated by a demon. When William departed, Chris heard Regan shouting over again. Having reached the room, she saw Regan injuring herself with a crucifix. When Chris attempted to stop her, she shoved her to the ground forcibly. When their servant was about to enter the door closed by itself. The sofa moved and placed itself against the door tightly, and a cupboard was proceeding towards Chris to hurt her, but she managed to save herself at right time. The same time, Regan turned her head completely backwards and, by mimicking Burke's voice, said to Chris, "Look what your daughter did to me." Then Chris was convinced that the devil killed him. Chris, having understood that Regan was possessed by a demon, contacted Father Karras. She beseeched him to exorcise Regan. First he denied, but agreed upon her insistence afterwards. When Father Karras confronted Regan, she was heavily possessed. The devil inside her annoyed Father Karras over his mother's expiration. He thought Regan never knew about his mother. During the confrontation, Regan puked on Father Karras. Then he was confirmed that Regan is heavily possessed. But the problem was, permittance was required from the church for exorcism. Proof needed to be submitted to the church that the victim is taken over by a devil. Two words like "help me" appeared on Regan's abdomen. The capture of Regan's demeanor and telling about Burke's death to him by Chris really corroborated his confirmation. Father Karras listened to the recorded voice of Regan where she mentioned Father Merrin. He took the permission from the church for exorcism, but the church decided to send a veteran who already had performed exorcism for a million times. Coincidentally, they assigned Father Merrin for the task with Father Karras. Having reached the destination, means Regan's house, they heard her horrendous screaming. Father Merrin suggested that they should commence the exorcism instantly. As the procedure proceeded further, Regan began shouting in pain. She abused her mother, Chris, and Father Karras verbally. The bed started shaking on its own and getting upwards in the air. But they didn't interrupt their business. The bed descended to the floor. The devil started moving the things and created a tremor inside the room with his potence. Father Merrin was also maltreated. Automatically, Regan got untied and began levitating in the air. Both the priests somehow got control over her. During the cleansing, Father Merrin noticed the shadow of devil possession. Later, Father Karras initiated exorcism. As he went closer to Regan, she imitated her mother's voice and spoke to him. Father Karras exclaimed with resentment for the activity done by the devil. Father Merrin asked him to go out of the room. After a while, he re-entered the room and was stunned to see Father Merrin laying on the floor, deceased. Father Karras, being infuriated, asked the demon to possess him and leave Regan. Father Karras, being rageful, started strangulating Regan, means the devil. In time, the Satan tried to take over him, but Father Karras sacrificed his life by leaping out of the window to negate the devil's intention. After his fall, the crowd gathered there. One friend of Father Karras appeared and lamented over him. Afterwards, the situation was reverted to the previous state. Regan came back to normal and had no memory of what occurred to her. Couple of days later, they departed from the region. And here the movie, The Exorcist, draws the conclusion. I guess that was the profound narration of the movie, The Exorcist. Well, that's all for today. Thank you.